how do we combat the problems of runoff and soil erosion? What we've learned since the Green Revolution, all these industrial farms are in this picture. Instead of fighting nature, we need to find ways to work with nature. Instead of doing a whole bunch of disturbing of the soil, we need to find ways to actually shield the soil. Instead of tearing it up, we need to protect it. And we need to be careful with big, huge, giant farms getting what is called a monoculture. We know that biodiversity is important. It's important to the soil too. And so avoiding monoculture farms. So this whole field of sustainable ag is really soil conservation. Our goal to conserve soil is to decrease erosion. We can do that by slowing down the wind and or the water, preventing as much runoff as possible. Okay, the first way we do this is called no-till. No-till is the idea that at the end of the season, whatever's left in the field, we just leave it there. And in the next spring, what a lot of farms do, they'll go till the ground. They will go use a plow and they will turn the soil over, kind of cycle the nutrients in the topsoil. And then they'll lay down some fertilizer after they plant their crops. No-till is way simpler than that. We just let nature be nature. We let the crops at the end of the season, whatever's left, we let it decay over the winter. And that's the natural nutrients then that help the next season. Instead of running a tractor or a plow over it and compacting all that topsoil, we just let it stay loose. The fertilizer is the decayed plant matter. So we don't need to put down synthetic fertilizers that cause eutrophication. And because we're not driving as many tractors around, messing with the fields, we're not using as many fossil fuels. So no-till, if you have fertile soil, it's really the smartest way to just let nature do what it is capable of. A major environmental problem caused by the practice of tilling is, well, when we do till, then we do have to lay fertilizer down, and then that fertilizer runs off and causes eutrophication. So no-till avoids that problem. Ozone depletion, that's not even the right thing. We'll talk about that next semester. Intercropping, no, we haven't used that word. Compaction of soil, I just mentioned that, but this says from adding compost. Well, no, that's not what compacts the soil. It's machines that compact the soil. So A is the only correct answer. Another easy method, remember I said we could slow down wind or we could slow down water. All you have to do is plant a row of trees around the edge of your field, and that's meant for places like the Great Plains where the wind whips across, and this slows down soil erosion. Just putting something in the way. With crop rotation, your main goal is to slow down the runoff of nutrients. And so each year you plant different crops. One year you plant a tall crop with deep roots. The next year you plant a smaller crop that's more viney and has shorter roots. And that way you're drawing from different sections of the topsoil and you're pulling different nutrients. Different crops need different levels of nutrients. And so your soil balances itself out each time that you switch. It takes planning on the farmer's part. They have to decide which crop is going to be viable that year, which one fits best with the soil, and which one will make them the most money. The tall crop helps with wind erosion one year, and the short crop helps with water erosion the next year. Which of the following techniques is a realistic solution for farmers to decrease the amount of fertilizer and sediment runoff? IPM, we haven't talked about that fully yet. That's tomorrow's lesson. Switching from drip to furrow. Furrow is worse than drip. Remember, drip is the best. Practicing crop rotation. Yes. Less fertilizer because the different plants each year use different nutrients. Less sediment runoff. Yep. Because the different depth of roots helps hold the soil together. Applying manure immediately before precipitation. You should always apply a compost or manure in the start of a short dry spell. You want it to kind of sit there and metabolize onto the topsoil for a while before it rains. If you put down fertilizer, manure, and it immediately rains, it all just washes away. So it's worthless. Strip cropping. So strip cropping is really the same thing as crop rotation, except you do it all in the same year. You plant 10 rows of a tall crop and then 10 rows of a short crop. You could have 3 or 4 crops that you're alternating within the same field. Now, this takes a lot more work for the farmer. They have to plant and harvest and provide nutrients to a variety of plants. That all has to be planned out. And then the next year you switch them all. Wherever you planted the tall crop, you plant the short crop. Contour farming. Contour is when you'll see rows of crops that aren't in straight lines. And this happens in places that are more hilly or have slopes. If you plant your crops perpendicular to the slope, it slows down the flow of water down the hill. Which of the following problems is best addressed with contour plowing? Eutrophication. We're not really talking about runoff in this case, but we are slowing down water. Denitrification. That has to do with bacteria. Soil salinization. That has to do with irrigation. Soil erosion. Yes, if you're slowing down water, moving down a hill, you're preventing it from eroding down the hill. A is not a terrible answer, but it's not the best answer. Luckily, in the United States, we don't have to do this much because it's very labor intensive. It's expensive the first time you set it up. But terracing is used in a lot of parts in the world where they don't have flat farmland. China was one of the first countries to really do a lot of this. They have huge population in the coasts. The rest of their country is mountainous. How do they provide food? Well, they had to literally cut steps into the mountain so that it was flat and they could farm it. This way, when it rains, the water soaks into each step instead of flowing down the hill. I think that this kind of farming, it's like art on the side of the mountain. There's some other really pretty ones. Most of these are in Asia. Okay, if you go to Canvas, I have posted the Unit 3 guide. So this matches with the first two I gave you that had to do with ecology. Unit 3, according to APES, is population. So I've got the guide for you, and I have a handful of questions again today. So this is an assignment, forcing you to review. I think I gave you 2 attempts this time instead of 3. So if you mess up the first time, go earn back a couple of your points, all right? And then the PDF for today, if you want those pretty pictures, that's posted already as well. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.